Hello, everyone. This is Russ Sabella with the Florida School Counselor Association. Welcome to our webinar. Just a few tips before we get started. Your mics are muted so that we reduce really the chaos in some of these webinar environments. But you can certainly ask questions. You can type them in the questions area, and I'll be monitoring, helping our panelist here, our presenter, monitor those so we can get your questions answered. We are recording, and we will go ahead and provide this replay as soon as we can. And so right now what I would like to do is go ahead and introduce our presenter. This webinar is going to be facilitated by Carole Green. Carole has been with us now for a few years. She is our legislative consultant, and we are just so happy to be working with her. Carole, prior to forming Capital Strategies Consulting, Carole Green served as Secretary of the Department of Elder Affairs under Governor Jeb Bush. She's got more than 30 years of experience in public service and health care. Carole was elected to 3 two-year terms as a Florida state representative serving Lee and Collier counties. In 1999, she was appointed Majority Whip of the House of Representatives. She served as the chair for the Subcommittee on Health Care Appropriations, the chair of the Elder and Long-Term Care Committee, and vice chair of the Banking and Finance Committee. In addition, Carole served on the Committee on the Future of Florida's Families, the Committee on Health Care, the Policy Committee, the Committee on Appropriations, the Select Committee on Medical Liability Insurance, the Select Committee on Constitutional Amendments, and the Select Committee on Nursing Homes. And prior to serving the Florida legislator, Carole was elected to one 4-year term on the Lee Memorial Health System's Board of Directors. And so we're here today to overview what has been happening with advocacy, as the Florida School Counselor Association has been working here with Capital Strategies Consulting to get some legislation passed in order to help counselors do their jobs more effectively and efficiently. We also have with us some folks like Carolyn Berger, who is our president-elect, who also accompanied Carole and some others to Tallahassee recently in order to advocate for our bill. So, Carole, go ahead and hand it over to you, and maybe you can get us started by just kind of overviewing where we are in our advocacy efforts.
Absolutely, and thank you all. It's a pleasure being with you. If not in person, at least we can pretend to be in person with all of the electronic ability that we currently have. First of all, I would tell you it's been a good week. We started session yesterday, officially, started our 60-day session officially yesterday, and we're poised right now with the bill that has been filed this year on your behalf to be able to go forward and have that heard, and certainly our plan is to be successful in that. It has been, this is our 3rd year, and we had always known up front that it was going to take 3 years to be able to get in the position that we wanted to. The first year was used mostly as the time to lay the foundation or lay the groundwork. In the first year, we did propose a very aggressive piece of legislation because of the fact that we knew we were going to be using that as our foundation, as I've already said. That foundation was being able to look very closely at not only the ratio issue, but also on the actual job description piece of that, and to help educate folks. The first year we only were able to receive 1 hearing and 1 committee, and that was okay because that hearing was very successful. And in doing that, not only did we have that 1 hearing that passed unanimously, I might add, out of the Senate committee, but we were able to, through our efforts, through the efforts of many of you, and certainly through the efforts of Capital Strategies, be able to share with many of the members what we were trying to do. So that was our point of laying the foundation of saying this is what we really do, this is who we really are, this is what we really need to be doing. So we did that. We realized then by the 2nd year that we were up against a few obstacles, a few of those obstacles being some people who really dug in the legislature with their preconceived notions, and with the fact that so many of them say, well, we shouldn't put any more mandates on our local folks, whether that's schools or cities or counties. So they said this is just another mandate that was going to be unfunded, and of course that was never our intent. We certainly believe it should be funded. So consequently, the second year, we were able to, through the amendatory process, pass a bill. The bill did the name change, which is in keeping with the national standard and the nationally recognized title. So we believe very strongly that what happened with that, everybody can say, well, that was just a title change. Yeah, it was just a title change. However, that bill was heard before 7 committees, which means that it probably reached somewhere between 80 and 85% of all the sitting members in the Senate and the House. So they're now getting a better education about what we're about, what our organization, our association is about, what we really do, and what we should be doing. So we were able to get all of that accomplished last year. The governor signed that bill into law. So fast forward to this year. One of the things that we did over the summer was I spent some time visiting with some of the legislators who are in positions of leadership, so that I could help to have one-on-ones with them, because it seemed to me what was happening is that some of the roadblocks were through leadership who were saying, this is going to cost us a lot of money, where's the money going to come from? And even though we've had an uptick in the budget here in the state of Florida, which we're all very thankful for, they still are very concerned about the fact that they believe there's a big price tag to this particular piece of legislation. So over the summer, I met with the man who is the Appropriations Chair, who appropriates the money for education in the House. And we had a nice long chat, and I was able to talk to him a lot about the pilot study that was done in Colorado and the impact that it had, the fact that we needed to really look at this very seriously. It was interesting because he has fond memories of his school counselor, which was nice to hear. And we talked a lot about that, about targeting low-performing schools, about what we needed to do to make this better. And he challenged me at that particular meeting with the fact that, you know, you need to prove it to me. You need to prove to me that there's real impact in the state of Florida, not what's going on in Colorado. So I heard exactly what he said, and with talking to some folks, I think, Russ, you may have been on some of those conversations. I know that Maddie and Chris were. And we had an opportunity to have dialogue and say, okay, fine, this is what we need to do. And what we need to do is we need to put together a blue ribbon task force that would be housed in the Department of Education. They would be appointed members, and that they would be tasked with the issue of studying this issue across the state, being able to provide us the details that are so very hard to get, and be able to, at that point, make recommendations on how to go forward, and to also be able to help to review and update the Florida School Counseling and Guidance Framework. We all want to move towards the 1 to 250 ratio, but at the same time, again, we're in a mode here in Tallahassee where it's, you know, you got to prove it to me, and you got to prove to me what's really happening in the state of Florida. It is my firm belief that they're putting a price tag on this that isn't anywhere near what it's really going to be. And what I'm saying in that is saying, I believe we'll be able to fund this a lot cheaper than they think that it's going to be, and I think they're using that as an excuse. So consequently, I believe that this is an opportunity for us to be able to make them understand that this is what the actual dollar figure is going to be to make this issue go forward. Now, in doing all of that, we have had the opportunity again to make sure that everyone understands, that everyone that I've interacted with understands what this is really about. And it's not just about the numbers, it's really about the kids. And we keep going back to, it's really about the kids, it's really about the kids. So we keep making sure that we're driving that home, and about the fact that we want to make sure that our children are successful. So we've been working on that from a lot of different angles. I also this summer took time to meet with the Speaker of the Florida House, Speaker Weatherford, Will Weatherford, and once again had someone who said to me, oh, I have such wonderful, fond memories of my school counselor. In fact, he said, I still see her. And I still see her because I mentor at the school where I went to school, and so I get to see her on a regular basis. I have everybody embracing their school counselors that I've talked to, and that's a very good thing because it continues to send that positive message and continues to have them buy into what we are attempting to do here. As I said, back to one of the comments I made earlier, the biggest problem I have in this legislation, the pushback that I get is, number one, in putting a dollar figure to it and trying to figure out what that dollar figure really is across the state, and also the mindset that we shouldn't mandate this because we mandate so many things to our cities, our counties, and to our schools, that we need to get away from that and let local control rule. I've always have an opportunity to point out at that particular juncture that we tell people what to do all the time. So I don't think that that's a legitimate reason. But that being said, they are the people who are in the seats of leadership, and I respect that, and now have found that this is another way that we can go forward. Senator Nancy Detert has just been a real champion of ours, and for those who got to meet her, she wasn't in her best form this time when we had everybody that was here on March 3rd. She was having a bad day, but she is a wonderful supporter of our initiatives. She's been our supporter in the Senate. She's been the person running our bill in the Senate for the last 3 years. She's there with us again. She will do anything she possibly can to make this work and go through. She was on a school board in Sarasota County prior to being elected to the legislature, and is just a really wonderful person who everybody loves and everybody supports up here. And it's one of those things, she's the type of legislator that when Nancy Detert says it, you can take it to the bank. And so consequently, she has a lot of people who will be following whatever legislation that she files, and she has this file for us. One of the other interesting things that has happened has been in the House, and we do have our House bill filed, and that number is 1139, and I have met, that is with Representative Danish, who's just a lovely gentleman. And it was interesting because when we were here meeting on March 3rd, our group happened to be in the hallway, taking up quite a bit of space in the hallway, and we were actually there to see Representative Fullwood, who wasn't available, but Representative Zimmerman and Representative Danish overheard the conversation and came out of their offices. They're both teachers. Came out of their offices, really embraced us, embraced what we were trying to do, and Representative Danish followed up with me and said, I really want to run that bill. And I said, okay, great, because what we've been trying to do is get that bill rolled into a committee bill that the Education Committee is doing, and I still think that may happen, but it hasn't happened yet. So when Representative Danish said that, he immediately got with me, his aide got with me. We were able to get the bill filed in the House also, so the bill is now 1139 in the House, 902 in the Senate. The problem that came up, however, for those of you who've read the bills, they are not identical. That 902 is one I've been working off of, and I had been able to make several changes to tighten the language up and tighten up some of the corrections that needed to be made. Unfortunately, when they picked up the language, when it transferred from the Senate to the House, they picked up some language that was from an original, and they didn't get the changes. So that'll all get done. I met with Representative Danish's aide yesterday, and we went through everything. And as we were going through everything, I picked that up too, and I said, oh wait, this is not the right bill. So that will get fixed, and she's aware of that. So we will make sure that they pick up the 902 language, and then that's a very easy thing, and we'll take care of doing all of that. So that's where we're at as of today. We had great meetings when everyone was here, and I would encourage each and every one of you at this point to make sure that you're getting engaged. And I'm going to, at this time, maybe stop for a second, Russ, and see if anybody has any questions to this point. And if they don't, we'll continue on and talk a little bit about how to interact with your legislators.
Very good. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions so far. Does anybody have any questions? Go ahead and type those into the questions box. I'm also, Carol, displaying our advocacy page on the Florida School Counselor Association website. I'm clicking over to our most recent update that went out over the last couple of 3 days. And that update has links to the bills as well as your advocacy tips.
Oh, good, good. I'm glad.
I'm not seeing any questions so far, so if you want to go ahead and speak just a little bit about
then I would encourage each and every one of you, this is where we need to be right now. Everything is in proper posture. We had some deadlines that we had to meet, and the last deadline that we had to meet as of now was yesterday at noon, and we met that deadline. So now it's a matter of racing to the next, till May 3rd, to the end of session. So this is the plan at this particular time. I will continue to do what I need to do here in Tallahassee, but here's how we can supplement what I'm doing. And that is by reaching out to legislators. It's very easy to find out who your legislator is. I can promise you that if you contact your legislator as a constituent of that legislator, they are going to pay attention. It will do you not as much good to contact someone who is not a legislator in your district. Most of those, because they get so inundated with so many letters, emails, phone calls during session, unless you can tell them your zip code or you can indicate to them that, yes, I am your constituent, they're not probably going to pay as much attention as they are if you are able to call and say, my zip code is 32301, and they're going to be able to say immediately, this is a constituent, and yes, what's your concern? So I think that those things are very important to do. So I think that each and every one of you must tell each and every one of your members that you must do this. Now is your time to act, today. Don't wait till tomorrow, it's today. I think the other thing that's very important to do is it's very important to bring along with us all of our partners. I know that I received an email from Becky earlier today too about another person who's partnering with us. I don't remember I didn't write it down. I have it in my notes somewhere, sorry. But we also need to make sure that we're reaching out to the PTA. We're reaching out to the school foundations. We're reaching out to the chamber. We're reaching out to Florida College Access. All of those groups that you interact with, they need to be calling legislators too and saying, this is important for our kids. This is important for our families. And those are things that are very important. It's not just a matter of one person doing this. This is where we utilize our network. Those folks that we interact with that are very supportive of us. I know the PTA is very supportive. They have been before. They've stood up actually in committee and said this is a great bill. So any of your PTA leadership that you have in your schools or that you have any interaction with, they need to be also making those phone calls, making themselves heard by the legislators that this is an important bill, this is important for our kids and important for our schools. So I think that those are the things I could tell you that you need to be doing right now. If you don't know who your legislator is, it's very easy to go on the website, and it's an extremely easy website to utilize. To go on My Florida Sunshine, you can go on myfloridahouse.com, My Florida Senate, and you can go right there, and it'll have a piece that will say, find my representative. You type in your zip code, and they'll be able to take you right to it. And from there, you can actually send an email. So it's an extremely easy thing to do. Also, whenever you do that, you're going to be able to have their phone number, so you can make a call. I know Tallahassee is an extremely difficult place to get to. I live in Fort Myers. It's a 7-hour drive for me any way you look at it, and which is why I stay up here during session instead of driving back and forth. But if you have an opportunity to come, let me know or let someone know. We will make sure that we get you in front of some of the people that you need to talk to. We'll give you any time of clues that you need or hints that you need. Can play tour guide and get you around to some of the folks that you need to reach out to and talk to. The most important thing we can do right now as far as an advocacy piece, which is where we're at in the process, is reach out to all of our networks and all of the folks that we can get engaged. If you have students and parents who think you're important, and I hope every one of you have lots of students and parents that think you're important, they should be reaching out to. Those are the types of things that put the pressure on the legislators to know that this is an important bill. The last thing that, as your lobbyist, that I need to hear is that I'm not hearing any public outcry. I'm not hearing anybody that thinks this is a real problem. So obviously Carole Green is the only person who thinks this is a real problem. So that's one thing we want to avoid. Keep picture there in the Senate. So that's the one thing we want to avoid. We want to make sure that they hear that there is a public outcry of people believing that this is extremely important, again, for our kids.
All right, Carol, we do.
I've talked a lot.
We have links to all of the ways to find your representatives on our website. I'm thinking your email address is on your website as well?
It should be.
Okay, very good. And we'll put
I'm probably like a lot of people, I don't look at my website very often.
We'll make sure
which
that
is
gets
sometimes not a good idea. I would tell you, I did have some feedback from Derek McGee. Those of you who got to meet my friend Derek McGee in the governor's office, who's just a lovely gentleman, and he did call me last week to tell me that he did brief the governor on our bill, and that the governor was very interested in the bill. Again, there's never any guarantees. 60 days from now, the governor may have his mind on something else. But Derek said he did pay very close attention to what he was saying. He said that he understood what was going on. He certainly understands the importance. So all of it was very positive. We didn't get any pushback at all that, oh, you know, we don't need to be doing that. So we thought that was really great.
Wow, that is fantastic. Well, this is very exciting. Yes. We have a question from Sheree. Charisse asks, our county has just formed a committee to look at the role of the counselor and counselor allocation. Always comes back to budget. How do we address this with no increase in budget?
I don't think that there's any way to do this without any increase in the budget. It is my hope that the documentation that we get from our task force is going to be so compelling that it gives us a good reason to increase a categorical to be able to make sure we're hiring more. And I do understand that. The budget has always been a problem. It is easing up somewhat, that we are seeing some improvement to the budget here, but everybody's fighting for the budget. Everybody's fighting for those dollars. So I do think and applaud anybody who's putting together a group that's going to be looking at this as a real issue, and I would really charge them with making sure that their legislators, their senators, and their representatives know what they're doing and know why they're doing it, so that they can start looking at ways to be able to hopefully get this message across to the policymakers.
Okay, very good. Any other questions? So just to kind of summarize, now is the time. What we are trying to do here at the Florida School Counselors Association is to really heat up our networks, and we can't do that without members. And so if you attending would start to reach out to your colleagues, start to reach out at the district level. We at FSCA have been emailing and campaigning across the state. In fact, we just had an email go out to all 5,500 public school counselors, and we even had one going out to over 3,000 private schools. And we are just heating up as well. We're going to be approaching PTA and some other organizations, but we cannot do that, Carol, as you said, without school counselors and students even really calling in. And Becky, I guess that'd be another question. Would you recommend all the above, fax, email, call, visit?
You know, it's a very interesting thing. Fax is kind of falling off the radar. Right now, email is good as long as you're not flooding people. If you flood them, it's going to really upset them. But for you to send a personal email, and that, what I always suggested for my constituents to do is in the subject line or the very first line say, I met you at, or I know you are my legislator, I'm in zip code such and such, because it will make them look at it in a different way than if they just get blast fax or blast emails. Blast emails don't work. They just don't. They end up absolutely crashing your systems here, and that's the worst thing you can do to a legislator, during the 60 days when they're away from home. You know, letters are always good. Handwritten letters are almost a thing of the past. I can tell you that the handwritten letters that people get here in the legislature always get comments because they're so accustomed to having that text or that email. But email is probably the best, the number one, again, if it's not a blast one. And then past that, making a call to their office, even their local office. You don't have to call here. You can call their local office and talk to them. They're probably not quite as busy right now as some of the folks are up here. And always reference the bill number, because that will make it much easier for the aide that you're speaking with to be able to get right to the issue.
Okay.
Did I answer that enough for you?
You sure did.
Okay, good.
We have actually Carolyn Berger, who was accompanied you up on the hill just
yes, we had so much fun. And Derek said that she had written him a note, and he really appreciated it.
Oh, excellent. So now she says, on our visit to the Hill, some representatives and senators mentioned that it's an election year. So how might this impact our success with this bill? Does this mean we need to advocate even more?
Yes, it impacts this bill because most of the people that you are going to be reaching out and talking are up for standing for re-election this year. Now, therein is where they need to understand that there's a great number of people reaching out to them saying we want this. Again, as I said earlier, I can't say it often enough, the last thing you want is having them think that Carole Green is the only person in the state that wants this to happen. Because if they think that, they may love Carole Green, but they're going to pat me on the back. So this has got to be a groundswell. And if the time is today, and the groundswell can't happen a month from now, the groundswell has to happen today. And that's the emails, the phone calls, and referencing the bill numbers. And then that will hopefully send that strong message that this is important.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now somebody's asking here, Sheree's asking, are the legislators in session right now?
Yes. Legislative session started yesterday at about 10 o'clock.
Okay.
And it will run through till about May 3rd.
Okay, May 3rd.
Yeah, we started our 60-day session yesterday. Everybody's here.
Gotcha. And she's asking how to meet with them. I think you had mentioned to contact you.
Excuse me?
She's also asking about how to, not only to write letters, but how to meet with them in Tallahassee.
To meet with them, if you're coming to Tallahassee, which is wonderful, it's a matter of just, all you need to do is call their office and set up an appointment.
Set up an appointment. Very good. All right. Excellent.
A lot of them, if you call their office, a lot of them will say, if you send me an email. So you can do either. I would always call their office first. If you're a constituent, they're probably not going to make you jump through the hoop of doing an email. That's more for lobbyists. That's more of something that I get to do. But the most important thing is if you can reach out to them in any way, shape, or form, and be supportive and be positive. And one of the things that I will tell you, if you write a 3-page letter, it will not be read. If you write a 1-paragraph letter, it will be read. So the most important thing to remember is that you need to get on point, which Russ is helping you do with the advocacy letter that he sends out. You need to get on point. And if what you're trying to get across cannot be explained in a short elevator ride, you're saying too much.
Okay.
And just, when you get in front of them, you'll probably only have 10 minutes. So again, it's very important to be very concise in what your point is and what you're trying to get across. And you never, ever, ever will get it across if you're negative. They get a lot of negative.
Yeah.
And it's really nice to be able to say, this is such a positive thing we can do for our kids. I really hope you can help us help your kids. So I think that those are things that you always need to remember. Always come with your business cards. or attach your business cards if you're sending a note to them. Those are important things to do. That will then put you on their mailing list. So that, of course, plays back to some of the campaigning too, but that's an important thing. If you want to get involved in someone's campaign, they won't be campaigning now until May. They are precluded by law of raising any funds or doing any campaigning or electioneering in the next 60 days. So that's kind of a moot point for the next 60 days. Don't ever be put off by talking to an aide. The aides are the gatekeepers. The aides are very important to being able to get your point across to the aide is equal to, or almost equal to, talking to the legislator themselves.
Yep.
Because that's the legislator's right arm.
That it was last year when we talked to the governor's aides about equity and the salary increases that we were able to successfully get salary increases for school counselors along with teachers, and that was all done through the governor's aides. That's
right. Yep. Yeah, that was Derek McGee.
Yep. And Carol, I've got up on the screen here our one-page kind of bullet points.
Yes.
Bullet points refer to Senate Bill 902, but what about the House bill? Same points, right?
And what we need to do with this, actually, whoever has the template, is go Senate Bill 902 and then a dash and then HB 1139.
Okay.
Because it will pertain to both of them, and that needs to be corrected. We didn't have a number until I think Friday.
Okay, very good. We will make that update for sure.
Right, and as I said, they're going to get 1139 is going to get corrected to be identical to 902.
All right, excellent. Let's see, any other questions? So on the screen, I'm pointing to some very important links again. We've got a letter from our fiscal president, Rebecca Schumacher. We've got a handout on advocacy tips from your company there, Carol. I'm showing that now. Definitely some really good tips, some of which you've covered here today, and then our handout, which is our one-page kind of bullet points. And like you said, go ahead.
You could actually take, if you want to send a handwritten note, you could actually take the handout that you have, staple your business card on it, and mail it to them.
Oh, good idea.
And just write on the side of it, I really think this is important, please support. Something like that.
Oh, wonderful. That won't take much time.
Right. Yeah, everybody's stressed for time. I understand that. But just doing something like that and putting it in an envelope and just handwriting on it, this is really important for our kids, or this is really important for me, please support, that's enough.
Excellent. All right, I'm looking to see if there are any other questions. We'll give people another second or two. Well, it looks like
you're being really quiet.
Yeah, we may have answered folks' questions, and I think you've really stressed the importance of really contacting other networks as well as our legislators and make sure you're not the only voice in Tallahassee for us.
That is, as of today, that is the #1 most important thing that each and every one of you need to do. Work your network. Work your network. Work your kids. I mean, the kids should be sending letters too, saying this is important to me.
Okay. Yeah, we've got just a few more questions coming in. Does this bill focus? Does the bill focus on all age ranges in the public schools, or specifically certain grade levels over others?
It's across the board right now. We expect the task force to study the entire issue across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can tell you that one of the things that I've been working with Representative Janet Adkins with is getting this into her bill. She has a committee bill, and we've talked about getting it into her committee bill, and her committee bill is more focused on middle school. But my feeling is that if we can get it even in her bill, get this language in her bill, that we can still insist upon the fact that whenever they get ready to do the rules, that the rules should include every level. I think that's back down to that comment that my dear friend Nancy Detert made, don't let the perfect stand in the way of the possible. If we can get this committee formed, then even if it goes into a middle school bill as opposed to going into a standalone bill, we're way ahead of where I would have expected.
Excellent. Now, Rorion Marinelli just makes a comment. She says, Sarasota was the recipient of 2 federal counseling grants, and she's got data on the direct impact of counselors on student achievement. Let me know if this would be helpful. We will definitely be contacting you, Rorion. And if and this is important. You've talked about this, Carolyn. If we can provide any examples or data, and certainly if and when this bill passes, we will need to do that in order to.
Well, and actually, personal stories. Anytime you have a personal story like that, and you get a chance to send it to your legislator, those things will catch their eye.
Mm-hmm. Rorion, if you can just go ahead and send that to us at our email address, which is fsca@fla-schoolcounselor.org, that would be amazing. All right, other questions? I noticed our president has joined us. I know you were in some meetings. Becky, anything you want to add?
She was with us here in Tallahassee.
Yeah, you were there. Becky, your mic is unmuted if you want to go ahead and say anything. Maybe your microphone might not be working. Let's see, I'm looking here to see if there are any other questions. All right. Well, Carolyn, anything else, any final comments or anything else you would add? You've covered quite a bit already.
Was that question to me or to Carolyn?
To you. Anything else you would add?
I think we've covered a lot of ground in a short period of time. If you have further questions, if you just, if you reach out to Becky or I mean, you're obviously welcome to reach out to me, but you may want to reach out through Becky or Russ, and we'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have. As we go forward, we'll keep you informed as to what's happening and as it happens. Right now, we don't have any, the bill in the House, 1139, has not been referenced yet. We're waiting every day to see where it's going to be referenced to. The one in the Senate has been referenced, and I have a meeting set up to meet with the chairman of the committee that it's going to, so that I can go over the talking points with him. So hopefully that will get him to agenda the bill. I know Senator Detert's already after him too. So.
Excellent. And Carolyn Berger, your was up there as well. And anything you want to add, Carolyn?
Yeah, the only thing I want to say is that I would just encourage everyone not to be intimidated by talking to their legislator or their senator or their representative. I'll say I had a really positive experience, and everyone was very willing to hear what we had to say. So I do encourage you, even if you're brand new to this, regardless of whether you're a grad student or a counselor or if you work at the district, they want to hear from you. So I would just encourage you to reach out.
Absolutely, and it was a very positive experience, which is normal. I rarely have had one that isn't, and probably once in my last 5 years I had just one because the legislator just really didn't like the issue, and it had nothing to do with your issue. It was a completely different client. But I always try and tell people that when you go into the room, you know more about your issue than they do. And most of them really want to do the right thing and do a good job. So they're going to be like a sponge listening to what you have to say so they can understand what you do better to help them make a better decision. We are a citizen government here. They are not professional legislators.
All right, very good. Our president, Dr. Schumacher, is telling me her mic's not working, and to please extend her thanks for your efforts and all of our participants attending today. And she's excited also about the promises that this bill will bring, and also emphasizes that we need people on the ground to contact our legislators and other organizations. Well, I think this will be our finishing point. And so, Carol, I want to thank you again. It's been a pleasure working with you, and this has been a really amazing effort. Florida School Counselor Association has really spent a great deal of focus and energy because this is so important. And we also would like to make sure that you are contacting your colleagues in order to become a member. We know that that matters, that numbers do matter as well. The more members we have, the stronger our voice. And so if you haven't already, please reach out to other colleagues who may not yet be a member and go ahead and join today. So that will be helpful as well. All right. Thank you all for participating. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carol.
Absolutely. My pleasure.